narrowly ahead of their teammates, but well, if they finish 1-2, that will open the margin.
Yeah, now the 16 car coming into the pits, and it looked pretty much like they had a complete loss of power just out of that. That's some indications, early indications. Now, that can be for many, many reasons. Remember, this car's had fueling problems from very early on, where it wasn't able to get all the fuel out of the tank. First thing first is they are putting the dollies in, so they're not refueling now. They're taking it into the garage, first of all. And then I think there'll be quite a bit of an investigation.
Yes.
Some good news comes out of all the bad news, and that is the number 8 crew, Toyota Gazoo Racing, are confident they've solved that brake cooling problem. It was damaged brake ducts.
That's good, because that means that they can, from a recuperation, from a harvesting of energy, from brake temperatures, from driving style, everything else, they can go back to a little bit of a normal sort of performance.
Yeah, that's going to be really critical for them because, again, as we said,
that's cooling things down in there.
Oh, I see what you did there. See how steamed up Ollie Jarvis's car was, though, after he'd been working hard inside it. Work still going on these barriers at the first chicane on the Ligne Droite des Unaudières, the Mulsanne Straight.
Yeah, if you've missed details of what's going on there, that was a result of a very significant impact with, and I think through the barrier, for the number 30 car, spinning out Tristan Gomendi in the Duquesne Engineering number 30.
Barrier doing exactly what it was supposed to do, distort and absorb the energy. 2 Ferraris on pit road. Out goes the car guys' liveried car, the MR Racing Ferrari. And in is the 3rd place car, Davide Rigon bringing it into the pit lane. 3rd in GTE Pro, the car guys in GTE AM. Is this left sides only? No, it's full set.
Yeah, just looking at it, they actually done 17 laps with the fact that it was under safety car, but their competition has done 16 and 15, 16 being the Aston Martin of Lynn, 15 being the leading car of Collado.
And we're going to go green.
It depends how quickly it goes back, is how much they lose.
Very quickly. Really? All those trucks are still at the chicane?
Yeah, there's lots of exit places to go off the track.
I'm not second-guessing Eduardo Freitas.
Yellows have been withdrawn, it says, at both Forest S's and down at the first chicane.
So these guys won't wait for a safety car to come past. When the safety car releases the queue, it will go. There's a lock-up behind. Somebody's already started racing. The safety car will pull off, and then they will have to wait for the queue to come. Is the safety car leaving trails of debris behind it?
Yep, as one car comes into the pits.
It's the Iron Dames car, and we go green. There were a couple of lockups in the queue. Somebody's very ambitious. Of course, at the front of that queue is the race lead in LMP2, Jean-Eric Verne and Alex Brundle. They're the first 2 cars in the queue. There they are. And they stream up the hill. Slow zone at Marshall's, post 5 to 6. That's from the S's to Tertre Rouge. Oh, and somebody goes off at the chicane as well. That was a Porsche. Yellow flag's out. Yellow flag's not out. Green flag's out. That was a very late change. They're heading down towards the slow zone. Jean-Eric Verne trying to clear the car in front in 26. Can't do it now. Slow zone here, waved yellows.
The car ahead didn't slow down, though. The car ahead's just blown through that. And so I'd suspect that there's going to be a... maybe.
Yeah, a little slow.
Came into it very, very quickly.
Yep. And that is an Algarve Pro car, isn't it? So that is John Falk.
That's the 25.
Yeah. And then they go green once more as they exit the yellow flag zone.
This is a long, slow zone as well.
Yeah.
So now it's the right time to pit for the other Ferrari and Aston Martin, because the overall time loss will be less than being held for the 3rd of a lap.
So the slow zone, in fact, covers them from Arnage all the way through the first chicane. So they have not completed the work there, but Eduardo has pulled in the safety cars to allow racing to continue around the rest of the lap. 95 is in from 4th place. Don't forget, 2 safety car queues behind. And the number 1 Rebellion in second place. Kazuki Nakajima 4.7 seconds behind him and holding.
The other car that could gain out of this is Lopez, the lead Toyota as well, because he's due a pit stop very, very soon, at any time at this moment. Buemi, that we saw, had already been in the pits. That particular car, anyway, the number 8, the sister car. And Norman Nato also could do exactly the same by pitting very soon.
Full set going on. Now, this will be, if they hadn't already, Aston Martin changing to nighttime, the softest rubber that you can get. And the queue comes past the slow zone. They will get green at the next Marshall's post, exiting the chicane, which will be post 12. And Jean-Eric Verne, there you are, you saw them at 79 kilometers an hour. That's pretty exact speed limiting, and now whoosh, they're released. And the speed rockets. Verne weaving, oh no, in fact that's John Falk weaving in front of him. Those two sets of headlights together, Jean-Eric Verne and Alex Brundle. Oh, and Brundle's got to run. He's coming down the inside. John Falk in front. Brundle dives through. No, he doesn't.
Brundle had the runs on the outside.
The run, not the runs. Oh, Alex Brundle losing a bit of ground off the chicane. The G-Drive really picks up quickly off the chicanes.
I think Alex actually, because he sort of was a little bit out of line on the way in and lost a bit of the speed and performance there. Now he's actually being under attack from behind. Brundle's getting the flash from the car behind, but he's much better on the brakes, much, much better. But they're all struggling to get these tyres up to temp. Here's the 97 into the pits for fuel, as we said.
Yeah, that is the car from second in GTE Pro. Hayley Edmonds down in the pit lane. Hayley, what can you tell us?
So I'm down at the Toyota Gazzy Racing garage, and I got some information on car number 8. Now, you were right in saying it was the front right braking cooling duct that was broken. Now, he saw them go into the garage a few times prior to the actual full... sorry, I've got to get out of the way because the car's coming in, to the full repair. But they obviously took advantage of the safety car to completely dismantle it and actually change the part.
So hopefully that will have sorted their issue out. They did lose second place to the number 1 Rebellion, and indeed the number 2 Toyota is right with the number 1 Rebellion, a battle for second place, but they are now both a lap down on our race leading number 7 car. So the 8 car has gone by Norman Nato, has cleared the number 1 Rebellion. We're watching the battle still for the lead in LMP2, Jean-Eric Verne and Alex Brundle. So hopefully for the number 8 car, that issue has been cleared. Number 1 Rebellion briefly into second place, but there was only a few cars in the safety car queue in front of the number 1 Toyota, and the Toyota's gone by. There's the number 1 car, and in fact, is he just being attacked by Jean-Eric Verne? Is there a problem for Norman Nato? No, looks like he is. No, looks like he worked his way through that little battle. So just in front is the Toyota. We missed that pass, unsurprisingly, given the fact that it's just a huge glare of headlights coming through. Leader has completed 111 laps, second place car on 110, and our LMP2 leaders 5 laps back. They're working lap 107.
Coming back to the GTE Pro a second as this group goes into the slow zone once again. This will be there for a few more laps. This is the actual rough time loss for Miguel Molina, who was right behind Alex Lynn, and he came in, remember, under the safety car point, and Lynn came in under the slow zone. Is about 30 seconds time loss. And so therefore it's been quite a penalty for him. At the moment, Lynn has got a massive amount of traffic, as you can see there, that Ross Gunn is preparing to go back into the GT-Am Aston Martin at a pit stop, I'm sure, very soon.
Little message flashed up on our screen that the Jackie Chan DC Racing pit stop was under investigation. Now, I'm not sure if that in any way relates to the reason the car has stopped. We saw very little of the 37 car. It couldn't be that it's lost a wheel or something. We saw it with all its wheels.
It drove back.
No, it's still out on the track, Gabriel Aubry.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
it was
rolled
the
to a halt,
16 that drove back. That's
16
correct.
drove
Apologies.
back. So 37 is still out there in the darkness.
But we saw him driving. Remember, we saw him coasting through Arnage and coming to a stop a little bit further. So
it seemed to have everything still attached, just not particularly. Oh, there he goes. Not particularly working well. So Gabriel Aubry has got it started up again. And do you know what the problem was? The problem was, I was saying, what a good, solid race they were having. And I'm really sorry. I apologise wholeheartedly, but
you set them the curse again.
I said it out loud.
I have to say, I don't think that will get them the laps back.
No.
When that car was just coming back there out of the Porsche curves, it looked like the skid on the bottom was touching the floor. So I'm just wondering if it's got something wrong rather than a puncture, something wrong with the suspension or something.
Well, he was on an outlap, I think. And
he was on an outlap.
And so maybe now the tyres have gone so cold that it's lost that little bit of ride height. He's been sat there stationary for half an hour. It may just be that that was all it took. However,
no, it's going in the
when we
garage.
saw it at Arnage, it was just rolling around the corner, no lights on, no noise, absolutely dead in the water. So whatever he's done to get it restarted, well done to Gabriel Aubry, well done to the team. But I'm afraid they too go on the list of they ain't going to win Le Mans this year.
No, but their sister car is there in third place. Anthony Davidson is there in third place. Admittedly, 45 seconds behind this particular battle, which is first and second in LMP2. Jean-Eric Verne still just holding off the very fast charging. I've got to say, very quick and aggressive round here, Alex Brundle. His father wasn't too bad round here either, though.
Not too shabby. Only 4 cars on the LMP2 lead lap. G-Drive, United Autosports, Jota 38 and United Autosports number 22. I daren't mention that we have had no notification of anything about the Spirit of Race. No, I know. United Autosport potential rubbery. But 4 cars on the lead lap. 5th is Panis Racing's number 31 car, which has been creeping steadily up the order. Mathieu Vazivière at the wheel of that. 6th is the Graf Racing car, Charles Milesi at the wheel of that. 7th now in LMP2. Richard Mille Racing Team, Tatiana Calderon still at the wheel of that car. And again, it bears out what we always say, if you don't hit things and spend time in the pits, you will be at the front of the field. They're in 7th place ahead of the 2 Dragon Speed cars, Memo Rojas and Ben Hanley, 8th and 9th. And rounding out the 10, Giorgio Serna Giotto, despite dramas already a couple of times for 47 Cetilar Racing. Who's that just come into the pits? Showing 3 orange lights at the side, but it's a prototype. Well, how can it be showing 3 orange lights? Oh, it's not, it's showing 3 red lights. It's
Rebellion.
the number 1 Rebellion of Norman Nato. Just not looking quite as red with the wide open irises of our cameras at night.
There's points on the circuit where the G-Drive is significantly quicker than the United Autosports car.
Yeah.
And it's critically at the points where you can overtake.
It's a good place to be quicker.
Goes back to the United praying for the rain, wasn't it? And they've got running a bit more aero, I think.
Yeah. It does look like Jean-Eric Verne leaves Alex Brundle every time they come out of a braking area or a chicane, and it takes Alex the whole straight to catch back up.
The only big issue with that one, Jamie, is that the weather forecast is suggesting less chance of rain.
Well, the other thing, of course, is that rain is just a lottery. 27-year-old Colombian driver Tatiana Calderon, part of one of 2 all-female race crews in this year's Le Mans 24 Hours. It's a start, but there are a lot more quick women drivers out there who could be racing here at Le Mans, and it would be fantastic to see.
I think they're doing a great job.
They are doing an absolutely solid job. They're up to 7th place, rather. No, 8th place in LMP2. And here is Philippe Albakirk, stopped in the number 22 United Autosport car. 4th place for them.
14 laps in that stint, but remember that was with the safety car and also in the slow zone, so they normally get quite a lot of extra mileage out of it.
16 has left the pit lane once more. That is the G-Drive Racing by Algarve car of Ollie Jarvis. And he is back at the wheel of that car after it stopped under him. On board with Tatiana Calderon. And a great indication of the difference in pace, particularly as you pick up the gas, Jamie Campbell-Walter, compared to the GT cars.
Yeah, I mean, 300 kilos lighter. Similar horsepower. I think the LMP2 maybe's got 50 more horsepower, so not a huge difference in power, but the weight alone of this car will fire it out to the corner. Ultimate top speed, not hugely different though.
But they do have an advantage now, whereas a couple of years ago, you'd see, you know, a GT Corvette coming back past an LMP2 car down the Mulsanne straight. In is number 7, the race leader. Pachito Lopez stays in, fuel only.
Drive-through penalty for leader in LMP2 for overtaking under the safety car. 25, number 25, number 26 and 39, but 26, that's G-Drive, that's Jean-Eric Verne.
So Charles Milesi is 39, 6th in the Haas-by Graph, and 25 is Algarve Pro's John Falp, and he was at the head of the safety car queue, so who on earth could he have overtaken? Well, he was in front of the... Maybe he wasn't originally in front of the G-Drive United Autosports cars. However, let's take a look at here. Top speed in LMP1, Bruno Senna and Rebellion, 347.8. And barely 10k slower, the LMP2 cars into Europol. First time running that car, they must be trimmed out for speed. Alex Lin's Aston Martin, the fastest car in GTE Pro. And still that AF Corsa Ferrari, Giancarlo Fisichella, clocking the fastest speed there. There's a slow zone, and a reminder from the screen, if you could read it, that you're supposed to be at the pit speed limit of 60 kph. So that will be bright yellow to the driver, but because the iris in the camera is wide open, it looks white, and it replicates exactly the flag signals that you're seeing on the track, unless race control is sending a message directly to that individual car, which they can do. James Collado brings in the Ferrari, and there was a driver change there. In is the Porsche as well. Jimmy Bruni brought it in, and Richard Leitz takes over. So this will be full service. It's already got fuel going in, and the gunmen are ready, and this is why they're constantly limbering up. They are ready with fresh rubber. It's a ballet for 2 men and 4 tyres. The WeatherTech Ferrari is in. 63 car came in from 6th position, so 3 of our top 6 in GTE Pro are in the pit lane. 82 car is Risi Competizione, and the 92 car, Kevin Estra's Porsche, the factory car, which had power steering issues. That took a long while and 2 long pit stops to try and cure it.
Great shot of the Porsche in the pit stop. You just noticed the exhaust now just in front of the rear wheel on the new 911 Porsche, because ultimately that engine is now in the middle of the car, not at the back. So they send the exhaust out the side of the car instead of the back, and massively changed the noise of the car, actually.
Those 2 cars you just saw, the Aston Martin 97, first in GTE Pro, and right behind it, the 92 Porsche, last in GTE Pro. Second place car in LMP2 is in the pits, Alex Brundle, and that will become potentially the leader. Jota Sport are in as well, with Anthony Davidson from 3rd. Felipe Albuquerque's left in the 22 car. Make sure that door exactly, and again, and again. Because if it's open,
that
you're coming back in again.
That rear bodywork's loose there. Do you see that on the just in to the left of the inside of the rear wheel? The rear bodywork was slightly had a big, huge gap.
Here's Ant Davidson in the 38 Jota Sport car.
Quick drink.
Yep. And this is the best placed Goodyear car in the race now that Gabriel Aubry's Jackie Chan DC Racing car has returned very slowly to the pits from the lead. In comes Jean-Eric Verne in 26. I beg your pardon, it's not, it's IDEX 28 car. And where is that now? That's 11th in LMP2.
That's a good climb up the hill, isn't it?
From a lap behind the whole field, Jamie. Just get your heads down and go, because they want to reward the boys for rebuilding the car in 24 hours in what should have been a week.
Well, they're 2 laps down now. Depends on obviously where everyone else is on the lap. But yeah, great job. They've 0 mistakes. They've done the job. Pit stops, drive around, and they're climbing their way back up. 11th currently. But
they're now ahead of the Duquesne car, which is retired. They're ahead of the G-Drive 16 car. They're ahead of the car that's led the race in LMP2 for most of the near 8 hours so far. Jackie Chan DC Racing car. They're ahead of Racing Team Netherlands, ahead of Inter Europol. By doing nothing wrong, both those IDEC Sport cars are crawling back up the order. And Patrick Pilet, half a second behind Pierre Rag in the Senior-Tech Alpine car, the defending race winners in LMP2. So just grinding it out. They've got a long way to go, 16.5 hours still.
And that is now the new race leader in GTE Pro with the various pit stops. Now Alex Lynn in the Aston Martin, number 97, is overtaken and gone into the lead. Alessandro Puer-Guidi is 5.3 seconds behind on an out lap. And so therefore the Aston guys have managed to get their car back into the lead of this race by good strategy. Now, with, I would assume, on a similar soft tyre to the Ferraris, we'll now have a look at the pace.
No further action in the investigation for car number 16. That's the G-Drive by Algar Pro car. And here is the Senior-Tech Alpine car in the pits, and that gives a place to, well, would have given a place to Patrick Pilet, but he followed it into the pit lane, just half a second behind Pierre Rag. So Pilet, in his first ever drive in anything at Le Mans other than a Porsche, or in any sports car race in anything other than a Porsche GT car, is now attacking Pierre Rag and the super experienced crew of the number 26 Senior-Tech Alpine, 36 Senior-Tech Alpine. Well, great strategy from the Aston Martin team has managed to see them out in front. This is Gabby Aubrey's car. It has to be, doesn't it? Yes, it is. So what are they working on at Jota Sport? Cooling tank there. Well, that's a header tank for the cooling system.
There'll be some of the, because they've taken the car into the garage, they can have as many people as they want. So there'll be half of the crew giving the car a little service.
Will Stevens in the background there with the black cap on.
And then there'll be 2 or 3 or 4 mechanics fixing the problem.
I worry that there's work going on the cooling system. It didn't look initially like anything other than an electrical failure, but had it just shut down because the ECU didn't like the temperatures it was seeing. This is a major rebuild. This is now about not retiring from the race. This is nothing to do with glory. This is just get it back out and let's finish.
Yeah, but this is also part of the World Championship, double points.
Correct.
We're now only 7 hours in. So therefore, there's still a lot of time to go, and you've got to get to the 70% point.
Yep.
But ultimately, this is also about points for the World Championship. And so therefore, you never, ever give up at this place. You never know what's going to happen. But the thing you do know is you never give up.
Yep. Well, it's coming apart still more than it's going back together. And this is why the car's in the garage rather than on the apron, because you can have 25 people working on it, doing an assignment of different jobs. This is major, though. Look, the floor's coming off. Everything is coming off.
Even the pontoons just behind the front wheel, they've come off.
Yeah, but this car, we have to keep remembering, this car is actually effectively second in the Drivers' Championship.
Yep.
At the moment, it's 22 points behind. Guess which car? The 22, the United Autosports car that's leading.
Right, if you're taking everything off the tub, and we assume that the tub's not broken, what is the thing that is buried deepest inside the tub, Jamie?
Fuel tank.
Correct.
No, but they can access that from...
Yeah, they can access that from another panel.
Yeah.
All right,
don't go from the bottom.
So what else?
Well, these guys are checking suspension parts. These guys are on the where the wishbones connect into the bell housing and the gearbox. They are they've all got spanners in their hand. They're all tightening each bolt. So That's what they're doing. Then there's a bunch of guys at the front taking the floor off, and then Phil on the top there, who's my old number one actually at Creation. He's dismantling
the loom.
The loom and the
ECU,
so it's
GCU,
like
something major in the electronics has just gone fut.
Well, remember there was no lights.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it could be the loom.
Now, to add interest, look at the report on the top of the screen.
Whoa.
Marshall's post 30, that's the right-hander leading into the Porsche curves. Track is declared wet. Rain lights on low mode. That means you may use wet weather or intermediate tyres.
I've just sent a message to Sam Hignett, who's the boss at Jota, to ask him what's up with 37.
Yep. So track declared wet. Now that doesn't mean it is streaming wet. Clearly from our race leader there is no sign of rain here. Alan has just stepped out the back of the...
I've done my weather forecasting by going out in the old-fashioned way and looking at the sky and putting my hand out. It's very, very humid. You can feel the dampness in the air, but it doesn't look like the clouds have got heavy rain in them. But there is definitely a lot of dampness in the air.
So from our Scottish weather correspondent, I've had my hand out the windy, it's near raining. But Porsche tell us that they are reporting rain at Mulsanne corner and at the Porsche curves. Double waved yellows here as you come into the slow zone. And this still remains because of the barrier repairs down at the first chicane after a huge accident for Tristan Gomendi. He was in a 3-wide battle with 2 other cars, one of whom was Philippe Albakirk's number 22 United Autosports car. Philippe said that Gomendi spun and collected him. It doesn't seem the damage was that bad. Now look at the little RDS screen. Did you see those flashing lights? Little strobing row of lights right at the top. That draws the driver's attention to a new message. Yeah, but that's Tatiana Calderon that we're on board with in the Richard Mille Racing team car. That's a Dragon Speed car directly ahead with Memo Rojas. Memo Rojas has had a tremendous amount of experience in this championship for a long time. She's been sitting behind him for now about 4 or 5 laps. They're on roughly equal sort of tyre strategies, but I would say she's getting used to this category pretty blooming well. Interesting that even at this time of night, 10 p.m. with cooler temperatures, they're still on a medium tyre. They haven't yet gone to the soft nighttime tyre. I would have thought maybe that might have worked by now, but... Yeah, it depends. You can change tyres, it appears, very much quicker on the GT, the heavier cars, than you can in the LMP2s. Yeah. Well, Tatiana, and remember when we saw her in qualifying, she was complaining that that screen was broken. It was flashing on and off, trying to reset itself endlessly, flashing in the nighttime practice. Now it's working properly. G-Drive, Jean-Eric Verne, the race leader, is in the pits. Down in the pit lane as well is our Hayley Edmonds. Hayley, what do you know?
I just spoke to Gabriel Aubry, who explained to me what happened. He said he was coming out the pit lane and all of a sudden there was lights flashing everywhere and he didn't know what to do, and he panicked, and all of a sudden the car completely stopped. And he said luckily an hour before the race actually started they had a quick electronics lesson, and he managed to call the crew and obviously get back to the pit. It's an electronic issue. They're working on it now, and he said that it's more than likely they will go out again.
Thank you, Hayley. Well, yeah, you know, sometimes you can overload a driver, but just occasionally they get the right bit of information that helps them deal with a problem. And you know, when you head out the pits and suddenly it lights up like a Christmas tree, you know you've got nearly 14 kilometers to get back. You're just going, come on, baby, just do it for me.
Who was it in the Nissan that spent hours in the Porsche curves, in the... What was it, the wingman or something?
Oh, I can't remember, but...
16's going slow again.
Yeah.
The Algarve cars just switched off. The electrical problem they appear to have had before has happened again, as they're now coming down over the Mulsanne hump and down towards that corner. That's halfway round the circuit. And he's losing lights, isn't he? The pit stop for pit drive-through for Jean-Eric Verne. That was his drive-through penalty served, so he will have not quite lost the lead to Alex Brundle, but the United Autosports car will be very close behind. And Tatiana Calderon still chasing down Memo Rojas in the Dragon Speed number 21 car for 7th place in LMP2.
As this car, Ollie Jarvis, must be thinking, oh, come on now, not again. Look at the gravel there, exiting Mulsanne corner.
But may I just say, coming back to, as we see Jarvis going down, so he's got another, what, 7K to go to get back to the pits. Talking about the actual drive-through penalty for Jean-Eric Vergne, he still owes a pit stop because he's done 10 laps on this stint now, and so therefore he'll be in the pits for fuel. He cannot pit and take a penalty at the same time.
Exactly so.
So he is going to drop back to second place. It will penalise them, even though they're still in the lead at the moment.
Again at speed with Tatiana Calderon. Speeding into the Porsche curves. I love the little illuminated map they've got of the track at the top of the driver's screen there. It's quite fancy.
It's so that if you break down, you can say exactly which marshal post. It's the same one as this.
Yeah, but normally it's just a tatty bit of paper glued on somewhere. It's just like in the way it's been backlit. It's really nicely done.
Well, it is actually a black light that's on there, and that means that there's no, and it's like an anti-glare mechanism, and to the point where even you've got different types of gloves. We used to have red gloves for the daytime and black gloves for the night for the reason that you didn't want to have anything that was illuminating inside the cockpit except on the black light.
Tatiana clearly hasn't learned that lesson yet. She's got her daytime gloves on her as she comes down the pit lane. Really good, oh, I don't want to say this yet, really strong run for the Richemille Racing Team, car number 50.
Please don't say anything like that again. Every time you've said about a car,
I know
it's had a problem.
But this team and this crew have had lots of problems so far this season in European Le Mans Series. If things are going to really fall their way, this would be a great place for Lady Luck to start smiling on them.
She's staying in.
Yep.
How many stints on? They're not going to change tyres, I don't think.
First time at Le Mans for all three of them. And what a great experience to be driving this track, slightly wide-eyed, to be driving this track at night. There's the TF Sport Aston Martin that's come in from second place in GT Pro, drops behind Ross Gunn. Andrea Piccini leading in the 75 Iron Lynx car. And we still have our slow zone out from Arnage all the way down to the exit of the first chicane as those barrier repairs continue for the damage caused by the spinning Tristan Gomedy. That took the number 30 Duquesne car out of the race. Haven't used the marker of doom on that, but I think it is about time that we do. So number 30, there was not enough left of that car to sweep up, never mind to race on. Baicole's car has yet to leave the garage again, hasn't it? Or am I wrong? Why am I not seeing it? No, it's still in the garage. Bruno Spengler did manage to drag what was left of it back to the pit lane. We lost the number 52 AF Corsa car, the Carrera-sponsored car. Alexander West, the Swedish driver, having a big accident in the Porsche curves. And unfortunately, Spirit Race pulled the garage door down on the number 55 Ferrari of Duncan Cameron, Aaron Scott and Matt Griffin after repairs from an accident.
16 into the garage.
Crept back with Ollie Jarvis at the wheel. New steering wheel ready to go on. So there's Stuart, the boss of Algarve Pro. That's him. He is what is known in the trade as a big unit. And they are trying to chase whatever electronics problem is bedeviling this car.
Electronics on all these cars, I think, at Cosworth, no?
Yep.
So
on all the LMP2 cars, it's the same engine package for all the cars.
Loom is being changed on the 37.
Yeah.
That's not a 2-minute job.
No.
Now there's the main car loom, which is a nightmare. That's stripping the car right down to the basics. Then you've got the gearbox loom, you've got other electronic looms as well. And so, but whichever way, changing a loom is a big job.
On board with a 28 IDEX sport car, talk to these guys about a big job. This car was re-shelled. I suppose that's not strictly
no.
Chassis, re-chassied, new chassis. It was built into a new chassis anyway after a huge crash on whatever day it was, Thursday. And now we're on board with Paul-Luc Chatin, heading towards the top 10 in LMP2. Remarkable, they started a lap behind the entire field. And he needs to catch a lap up to get on to the back of the Cetilar car in 10th place of Giorgio Serna-Giotto. Their other car with Patrick Pilet at the wheel is in 15th place on the same lap as them, at 1 minute and 45 behind, so 2 safety car queues behind his teammate. And again, that car undergoing substantial rebuild work on Thursday night, Friday, by the IDEC Sport team.
Phenomenal, isn't it? Minimum speed through there, through the Porsche curves, was 225k. Not hanging around.
We had a little message about rain at Mulsanne Corner and at the Porsche curves a moment or two ago. The Porsche team are expecting real rain in around an hour. Commentating from home in Denmark, Porsche driver Dennis Olsen praying for rain. And the Porsche team look like they may be answering that prayer.
So what happened to this car? The Jarvis car, did he have a crash?
Electronics, it stopped.
Ah.
There's Sam Hignett.
Looks
in
like
the
a
white
gearbox
shirt.
loom that they're actually changing here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sam's message was just loom. No other niceties.
Well, time for a coffee break for me. Ben Constanduras back to join you on air here. And Ben, all sorts of changes going on. Long safety car period. We've still got this long yellow zone down from Arnage to sort out the barrier repairs at the first chicane.
I thought I timed it perfectly, actually. You managed to cover both the safety car periods for me quite nicely.
What's your name? David Flippin' Addison?
That's Paul Lafarge there in the middle in the red suit. He is with Paul-Luc Chatin in the 28 car. He had an unfortunate accident on Thursday, which they had to re-tub the car. And that was his dad, sitting 2 places to the left of him, or right of our screen, Patrice Lafarge.
Who had competed earlier on in the LMP3 car that IDEC Sport have. I think he was responsible for their demise in race 1, which happened on Friday, but they had a much more successful day this morning. And part owner of the whole outfit at IDEC. Out of the pits, the 99 Dempsey Proton machine, the second of the 3 cars. Christian Reed in the 77 leads the 3 Dempsey cars, and great to have 2 of them out. Is the 88 back to being retired, do we know, or is it just having a pit stop?
I think 88.
It retired early on.
Stopped, and it's been in the pits for a little while.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So whatever the problem was with this car was an electrical problem. We just saw Stuart Cox, the boss of the team, in the cockpit with a laptop.
There's a laptop and a steering wheel change as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's a case of, right, change the steering wheel because that's one of the electronic parts, and do whatever else. As that car goes back out, it's been in and out of the pits quite a lot lately. They were very, very quick in practice, but unfortunately reliability is a big part of this game, and it hasn't been a positive. Here's the pit stop that G-Drive Jean-Eric Vernos. He had the drive-through penalty, and so this will put Alex Brundle in the 32 United Autosports car into the lead.
Yeah, worth noting, as we have done a few times, that these 2 G-Drive cars are not operated by the same team. So Algarve operating the Ollie Jarvis car and TDS with the 26 machine. There is United Autosports' Alex Brundle now will be into the lead once he gets to the start and finish line.
Yep. G-Drive effectively a sponsor of both teams is probably the best way to put it. There's Brundle coming out of the Ford chicane, and there's Jean-Eric Verne, just a fuel stop only, going down the pit lane. And that's the disappointing thing, when as you've done a fuel stop, and then you actually see the leader going past you.
So Brundle then with an advantage. That's all of the various different LMP2 cars shaken out, all the different pit stops and strategies we've got going on there.
I think that's the leader there, coming through the S's, so he's not far behind.
No, he had a 56-second disadvantage prior to the pit stop, And so it's that last pit stop for Jean-Eric Verne, I shall tell you in a second, was 1 minute and 26 total seconds. Oh, sorry, apologies. It was the last pit stop was actually 1 minute 10.
Brundle coming past me now. So that is Brundle, just gone into Dunlop.
Not the kind of thing you really want to hear. Good information, but you're basically being told you're missing and losing the lead of the race.
Yeah, but it's simple fact. You know who you're racing against. You can see him because you know which lights you lock onto. And then after that, it allows you a target for the future. And that target, you actually lock onto those lights and you follow those ones. You don't lose them. You know where they are. You know the gaps. And
you've got no idea when you're in the car and it becomes dark and you just jump in the car, you go out. The car in front could be, is it a lap behind, is it a lap ahead,
yeah, sure.
Or is it for position? So it's good to have that information. And then if he's, you know, a sector ahead and, you know, you get told by the engineer, you know, 21 seconds behind the leader. Okay, 5 laps later, good job, mate. You're 17 behind now. Okay, I'm on a roll.
Interesting thing, it says rain lights can now be switched off, which means that rain that we had at Mulsanne, just the sort of hazy rain and the sort of dampness in there, looks as if it is maybe passing past Le Mans and not visiting us.
Yeah, there's a lot of weather fronts moving around the area, but nothing really directly hitting us at the moment, but lots of different opinions as to when and if we will get rain. That looks like a bit of fluid being topped up. I'm not sure actually if they topped it up at all. They just looked.
No, they're going into the garage with that car. That's a 75 car going straight into the garage.
And that was the leader of GTM, so that's Andrea Piccini in the Iron Lynx car, and that's a bit of a shame then.
Well, that car was leading.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, what they were looking at was the...
Looks like power steering
area.
It looked like it, but that car has been leading, Ben, for quite a long time now. And once it's got into lead, and Andrea Piccini is a very quick driver, but clearly there's a lot of reliability issues in this race, a lot of niggly little problems. Not sure why, maybe because things weren't really, you were able to know where the limits were in the test day, but you know, Le Mans, everybody knows the forces that go through Le Mans. The lap times are the lap times, and you can work it out, but I'm very surprised by the amount of silly little niggly technical problems that people have.
So Ross Gunn leads GTM, and we now go back to safety car. That's a little odd. We haven't seen any reason as to why. Perhaps they have to get those emergency vehicles that have been repairing the barrier. They need to get them off the track, and the only way to do that is to place the safety car out.
Well, that's very good for these guys because they're actually now in a position where they will lose less time than what they would have done under the slow zones.
So yes, Aston Martin with Ross Gunn leading in the 98. That was a great battle the last time I was watching with TF Sport. TF Sport now down in 4th in class with Team Project 156 sitting in 2nd spot. Despite the fact that Perfetti managed 2 minutes worth of penalties in our last stint. Lots of work going on down there. The brake fluid containers are actually on the left-hand side, right? So they're not. It's not brake fluid they're putting in. It's something else.
They're definitely undoing something, aren't they? So I'm not sure it's just adding some power steering fluid.
No, I think it looks a little bit more. Well, that
there you go.
Piece of metal in his hand sort of suggests there's some brake caliper. It's a brake caliper that was going in, it looked like.
No, it was too big. And the brake caliper they would do.
They would do it in from the side.
From the side.
Yeah.
Was it the pump?
I think it was the power steering motor, the electric. It's a little motor, which is the power steering, and normally electric these days. Used to be hydraulic, and I think it's that.
Well, the barrier repairs have been fixed down at the first chicane, and the reason for the safety car, by the looks of things, is because all of these vehicles need to get off the track, and the only safe way to do that, of course, is to control the field And that was the reason why the barrier... Whoa. Wow, that was a hit.
That was a hit. Driver was okay, fortunately.
And the barrier then obviously needing to be repaired. There is Gomendi.
Didn't really see why. Was there contact? Light contact, was there?
Looks like it's the braking area. There was 3 cars that were involved, and Philippe Albakirk was on the left-hand side. And then Gomendi was on the right, and there's someone in the middle. And all we saw was the car speeding off and into the barrier. And you can see he's punctured through the barrier effectively, and that was them cutting it out back. But another car that's just come into the pits is the Oliver Jarvis-driven car, G-Drive by Algarve. It's had lots of problems and is now back into the pits once more. Now let's have a little listen to second place, Kazuki Nakajima.
Should be fine. Maybe they might have a 50% of gains 12 and 14, but the rest of the bus is not too bad. And clearly at left hand here. Okay, good. We want to do something on the driver here for 12 and 14. Safety car. From safety car, release the rocket or okay, so we are behind safety car C.
Well, we heard he was talking about understeer.
Yeah, tyre pressures and understeer, but that was prior to the safety car, because we heard him obviously calling the safety car. But yeah, I actually have to look at to see when he got into the car, which then gives you a bit of an impression. Kazuki Nakajima has been in for 9 laps, and so that tyre itself has been on for a wee while.
24 laps, according to the graphic that we saw flash up.
Yeah, and mediums as well, interestingly enough.
Well, they can generate still a lot of energy, especially through those fronts. Look at that haze.
Mist and fog.
God, that is eerie.
You can't see the bottom of the barriers. That's amazing.
Well, they did say, you know, I said that you weren't in the box, but when the rain warning came up, I went outside and it felt heavy dampness in the air, but never like that. That reminds me of growing up in bonnie Scotland.
or the Nordschleife.
Yes.
That's next week, Jamie.
That's next week, yeah.
I did see on one of the forecasts that fog was forecast throughout the night, but didn't want to mention it because we've been there before, Martin and I, with fog during a race. It doesn't tend to allow the race to continue. So safety car period again. The key thing is for me, Toyota have that 1 lap gap between the 2 cars now. And so when you do have a safety car, difficult to really take much advantage out of the way it falls. We do have both Toyotas behind separate safety cars. And has it bunched any kind of battle up? Yes, Aston Martin versus Ferrari in GT Pro.
Yeah, it's brought it. Well, those two were very close anyway. They're about 4 seconds apart, Lynn and Pierre Guidi. Molina was knocked down at the last one because he pitted under.
Toyota.
What's wrong with that Toyota? Yeah.
Yeah, now, it may not be a problem when they're not at speed. Cars tend to blow.
Let's have a quick word with Alex Le Guy, who's now down in the pit lane for us and hanging around the 37 to find out exactly what's going on. Still in the pit lane and dropping down the order, our one-time leader.
Yeah, it sounds like a battery issue, but they've completely replaced the engine. Hopefully they'll get back out again soon.
You can't replace the engine.
Yeah,
so.
it's not the engine, but they've been replacing roundabout, so it's the electrical loom of the engine that was what they were replacing. We heard loom earlier on, piecing it together, and in that respect, then they're back out again, which is good. They're back out, however, fighting for the lead and fighting for anything apart from just keeping their World Championship hopes alive is now all they can really look at.
Going back to that Toyota then, as it came across the line, there was definitely something coming out the back of it.
Yeah, but remember, what you're seeing is from the lights, and it's very damp. So you could have aeroflow coming off the car ahead. I wouldn't get too concerned, because on the rearward view we saw going up into Dunlop there wasn't. And so right now I just sort of hang on that one, just purely and simply because these things can play tricks on us.
Memo Rojas was in that 21 Dragon Speed car, 9th in class in LMP2. Just ahead of its, just behind its sister car, the 27, which is the white, more traditional Dragon Speed livery to the black that we see in our shot. A little queue of cars at the end of pit lane, including, I think, the Algarve, actual Algarve Pro Racing machine, which is the number 25 car at the head of that queue. Which wouldn't make any sense because it's not actually in the pits, so it must be something else. It is 24, which is Nielsen Racing, Anthony Wells, just next door at the far end of pit lane. Good to see that car still running. Well, a huge amount of experience with that particular car.
He's just switched his engine off because there's obviously a while until the safety car is just coming out of Porsche curves. 3 safety cars here at Le Mans, safety car A, B and C, and they all run at approximately 80 to 100 kilometers an hour, and these guys waiting in the pit stops cannot leave the pit lane until the safety car train has passed the pit exit.
And we go back to green flag racing, so these guys are going to join green flag race conditions. No chance to get themselves up to speed behind the safety car, because we have green flag over the start and finishing line. That marshal's still waving. That's potentially a green flag, but really strange conditions going into the Porsche curves there. There is a tunnel underneath the track, but it's a bit further round. It's more at that point. Yeah,
it's actually at that point they've just overtaken, where you've got a brilliant battle. Alex Brundle now with John-Eric Verne stocking exactly the opposite it was before.
And Anthony Davidson is only 1.3 back from it. There might be a couple of cars in between them, but that is going to be very, very tasty. And gosh, Alex Brundle will love to be the head of that field right now, knowing that he's fighting names of that caliber. Philippe Albakirk is in the 22 United Autosports, so we've got some really strong names at this point of the race, and he's 6.5 back from Anthony Davidson as we go back to green flag.
Well, that's your top 3 there just driving through in LMP2.
Yeah, so not too much GT traffic for them to contend with at the moment. They were obviously at the head of one of the safety car queues, and that really does mean for the next couple of laps, pure clean racing.
I would say for the next 3 laps, they've got pure clean racing, because they've got LMP2 cars which are halfway down the Mulsanne straight, and the first GT cars are already coming out of the first chicane.
They've got the Toyota just behind them, which is coming now, I think, into the shot. It's the 4th car on shot. He'll blast past them on the straight. There he comes on the left-hand side, I think. That's it, yeah.
And will you pick up a little bit of a slipstream by sitting in the draft of the Toyota?
Yeah, definitely.
So but even if you can't, you do it.
Yeah, yes. Sure.
Unless you're being told to keep the things cool. And then you have to get out of the airflow of the car ahead, because that obviously the air coming out of that car ahead of you is very hot. And so therefore if you have got temperature issues, then you try to at least get the nose of the car out so that you've got one of the radiators getting some cooling into it.
So that was Anthony Davidson aboard the 38 car now, just pinching a bit of Toyota fresh air and hoping to drag himself onto the tail of Jean-Eric Verne in the G-Drive racing car, which is now just under a second from Brundle as we go back to green flag racing. Brundle was strong in that first sector of the lap.
Yeah, but we've been talking about it a little bit earlier on, that it looks like the United Autosports cars are definitely very quick in the corners, maybe not quite so quick in the straights. And on a restart, if you've got an extra downforce, which obviously helps you in corners, then it also means that you can lean on it and generate tyre temperature a little bit quicker. And all of these things are bearing out that the United Autosports cars are actually a little bit higher on their overall downforce level than necessarily some of the other cars around them.
Question in on Twitter from Gareth P. Longen. asking what is RFID that is at the end of pit lane, Alan?
RFID is the tyre information system. Basically, each of these tyres have got a chip inside them, and it sends the information to the RFID point, which then will give it to the scrutineers to know that the tyres on the car are the tyres allocated for this race for that car. And so that if you've got a two-car team, you can't switch one set of tyres to the other. You used to in the past, but now you can't. But the other thing it does, very kindly every now and then, we get the right-hand side of the screen. We get to see if it's a soft, a medium, a wet, or intermediate, and also the lap numbers, because that all comes from the RFID.
Slowly and surely, that has been a system that we've been able to implement for your viewing pleasure. It's taken a while to persuade the teams and Michelin themselves to be able to allow it to happen. It's been a system that's been around with for many, many years to monitor the tyres, but not actually to give it public knowledge. Yeah, I think it certainly is something from a team perspective. They don't want to give any strategy away to the opposition. And if it comes through the TV, then clearly they watch the television and listen to us just as much as everybody else. And so in that respect, then it's something that they've been quite reluctant. However, it's been a very good thing for the show. And as we know, we're all fans. But now, on board with Anthony Davidson. No response from Anthony Davidson. He doesn't mind about what's behind. He's chasing down Jean-Eric Verne ahead, and Verne at the moment doesn't have the pace of Brundle. That gap has doubled on the last lap. Now 1.5 seconds, with Davidson 1.5 seconds back, a further 5 seconds back.
Anthony Davidson's actually having a blooming good run here.
Yeah.
Really strong run.
Great to see top 3 cars in LMP. 8 hours into the race now, covered by 3 seconds. Fantastic. Same in GT Pro. We've got the Aston Martin of Alex Lynn and the Works Ferrari 1.8 seconds apart. And then again in GTM, a good battle, only sort of 5 seconds between the top 4 cars. So some really good battles going on. Onto the Mulsanne, the second straight on the Mulsanne after the first chicane, on board with Davidson. He'll be looking for his brake markers coming up on the right-hand side, number 8.
So the last time this car was in the pits, it was sat in stationary for 10 minutes as they fixed or cleared up the front right brake ducting, which was causing them issues earlier in the race. That is what put the car down 1 whole lap from its sister car, the number 7, and hasn't really had the rubber of the green because it had a puncture as well early doors in the race. So the luck has gone so far with the 7 car. And a very simple service for that team this time through. Just a full tank of fuel, back out onto circuit, keep the tyres on, and keep Nakajima behind the wheel. What's being said to Jose Maria Lopez in the 7 car right now with a 1-lap lead? So, rear right tyre was the question mark. And we aren't entirely sure what the decision was. He was kind of being asked, what type of tyre do you want to choose? But yeah, exactly, because they have been on medium so far. That was what we've seen on the tyre graphics.
Yes.
On board with a 91 Porsche. Getting lots of weather information from those guys. Richard Lietz is aboard that car right now and has the what was Jeffrey Siegel, now Tony Wielander in the WeatherTech car just ahead. And right ahead, that is that white machine half a second to the good. And that would be a change for 6th position in GT Pro. They are a while back now from the leading GT cars. In fact, they are 1 lap down from the leading 3 GT cars. And looking at that graphic, it looks as though Alex Lynn has got himself, oh no, it's just sorting itself out. So the top 4 are on the lead lap, and then there's a gap.
This battle was going on when I was last in the booth. Richard Leitz is still behind the WeatherTech Ferrari. This is going to be a race-long battle. God, look at all the gravel there.
Those GT cars can really monster the curbs through the Ford chicane in a way that the LMP cars really cannot. And do need to be careful not to cause too much undue stress on the cars, especially this early on in the race. But Wielander was very aggressive there, even taking out the floppy on the exit